Until you want it to work, you run to create it. The firmament of circles, boundaries and limitation being tested in the segues, wanting to consciously work what's going to help. But not for them, and he still got up advice in the pact. Long since it has been lifted that eating more does not succumb to becoming more, however, that being the only statement able to be attained by the local clue. Before I turn the signals back on the output circuit tail access cover. Plus, and more plus of active negatives are eligible parts of formulation, in the most commonly late dashes on the upper floor, usually referred to as the control center. Wu and Wa are in this case multiplied like buzzers in the warmer season, and thus emotions of achievement before achievement are experienced by non-stoic individuals. This in a factual sense being in close relation to the excitement of internal creation, hidden from the sapien, but showing in the most vague form extremely prone to alterations in augmentation as well as execution. Nonetheless, in quantity or quality being considered, such seemingly random and speculation-wise close to periodic activity surges in the control headquarters are a delight to experience, especially in the second thought the consequences were untold of. This second a clearing will be given to this flaming unknown. First principles have been attributed to the timely inconvenience of such activation being experienced, namely the lateness which causes a slow start to the base, and eventually aging issues with glitches and steady procedure malfunctions. Though internal creations outweigh significant damage in later seconds, a worthy mention is highlighted from this first principle monument, speaking of undesirable products in such whimsical actions. But give it the honest statement that first principles have long since been outdated, dating back to the early thousands, when variants were assumed to be square mythology, and animal whisker-bottom sugarboard wave. Now reveal stretches and blazes of the trail to full health on the really good place for the dot tuning going on guarantees. The stretch renovations are updates in the control center lower cellar to keep it back on. Downstream nights in the relief dentations raid broke passages within the decrease in chat. These make balloon pearl feelings speculations on the top, though the cellar was allegedly theorized to be sinking in through the rather sizable crevasse orifice used by the stationary bullet train. Stationary bullet trains accolade themselves with high control headquarter importance, thanks to quick starts and other bonus streams without exhaustion or decisions going insane. And to be very frank, those stationary bullet trains without internal creation and vertical positioning with camels aren't optimally oriented, and what have you. But even more frankly, these suckers are pretty chill. That's where their life's been at, lit to the highest degree below the cellar. Really, the cellar can do whatever it wants at odd hours, whilst the playthrough gets itself to keep going. Stationary bullet trains are chilled. Yes, lit to the highest degree. But the cellar is what we're looking at before losing track to friendly fire experiments and constellations. Right, the sinking cellar. I wasn't super close to the history that's been to the a lot more story but here's the image you already have at any given point in straight schedule time. We're out here and I have already assumed you saw the cellar as a dark green space room, pretty empty, of moderate size, with dark green stains and smells of expired matter to be found, no particular rewards. You can pick it like that in the state, but follow anything to hold on to for whatever options you can encapsulate to work forward from you. Then even if you are harsh on it, use the factual stomach choice that this cellar is something you try and leave the marble without. You should like to take care of it. But it's doing just fine with complications even outside ledgers commonly taken notice to a possibility. The words of Shadows solicit that the cellar's bottom does not have enough square feet to bingo enough. It decides to bingo in one go, but kind of gets split up in connected glyphs working their way through. Don't comprehend incorrectly here, the cellar still works even in this connected glyph state. But right, the crevasse orifice starts to absorb the cellar, which proceeds to be taken in while sticking around. Being sent out is the main consequence of the cellar locating itself sand a tower more and more into the basement frontier, alongside the one-shot half-health stationary bullet train, which is chilling in battle. Then even more square feet are, only a little bit, but enough to aria crawlers and inflation presumptions from the theory before. So the cellar gets lower and control centers report highs. Though they should be working on the project of the triple roof connection, documented to not be sealed to even remote perfection, after eons upon eons pulling off and or drawing unfortunately. The struggling cellar in the basement of the basement posh wides to create something new and alive. Again, the cellar still works, but balloons can't fathom the change of location, so that's the viewership goal in the works. The bit I found in the ruins is also the extension cracks in the upper third of the stationary bullet train, because some wagons aren't well connected from a brand perspective, causing some low accuracy wiggle room, and always ending up in the wrong position. Be like reverse it into position, but recall the first rule, and realize what it gives you notifications about stiffly transform reverting into the original defective position spoken about earlier. really catching front and back from rising out close to all the interesting. Was this the driving mechanism seeming to cave the cellar square feet funny? So curiously, one might think a one shot or something would knock to stationary bullet trains. Or like yeah we whatever. But it is through that chilling reposition of faulty assembly, committed that the cellar runs out of square feet decimals showing in enough reduced quantities, that something gets out there, and basements consistently rise the exponents of release. So the main call here is the ponder of arrays possibility. Without stalling, the testified answer is vibes. And while it's prohibited to enter, touch, or visit the cellar in any way, as otherwise severe punishments are made permanent immediately, there are other ideas. So you can't check that, but you can check your vibes. Like a Chevy Bel Air. Think of it this way, if you don't check your vibes, ain't no one going to check your vibes in advance. It is only when you've tuned in the vibes that options open to Biscuit Factory, a propagation of cloth deals, shaky pattern stitched together carpet. Taco Truck and Biscuit Factory are inventions of time that persisted, because there was reason and vibe to persist, similarly to previous observations of crocodiles and other olds. Make this locker with emphasis, permanent patcherisu, make it thrown down the toilet. Taco Truck and Biscuit Factory. 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 We are have been headed biscuit.